Good morning and welcome to the State of the University Address. I thank you for joining us, and despite the fact that we all can't come to campus for homecoming week, I do appreciate the fact that this homecoming, while different, is just as important. This week we have put on several events trying to move from protest to policy. Advocacy has been the theme of our homecoming week. Howard has been at the forefront for 153 years of advocating for the African American community and the African diaspora as a whole. And I hope that what you will hear today is that Howard University is continuing to move forward to implement our strategic plan in an aggressive way so that we can ensure that we can continue to be strong advocates. Now, our Howard Forward strategic plan will continue to provide a strong and enduring foundation for our future. And just to remind you, in January of 2019, after a very long development process, we released our strategic plan with 5 main pillars, as you can see here: enhance academic excellence, inspire new knowledge, serving our community, improve efficiency and effectiveness, and achieve financial sustainability. The principles for implementation were to ensure that we were doing this so that we could engage our entire community from the board to every single constituency. Leveraging the expertise guidance of the board was critical. Coordinating across the academic and administrative disciplines, absolutely critical as well, and implementing best practices across Howard to enhance the experience of our students, faculty, and staff. Connecting with meaningful external partners to further our goals and our mission, and increasing the utilization of automation and technology-driven workflows so that we could be significantly more efficient. We've had a variety of teams put together to participate, and this is an example of what that looks like. When you look at enhancing academic excellence, we've had pillar champions as well as board sponsors. At the beginning, and obviously with some transitions, we've made some adjustments in terms of some of the board sponsors as well. The provost has to be given significant credit. He has really helped guide the enhancing academic excellence and inspiring new knowledge in working in conjunction with Angela Cole-Dixon and Bruce Jones. Serving our community has been led currently now by Cynthia Evans, previously by Ken Holmes. And our improving efficiency and effectiveness is led by our EVP and COO, Tashley-Ann Dubois. And achieving financial sustainability has been under the purview of our CFO, Michael Mash. I will note that as well, just this week, we were joined by the former city administrator, Rashad Young, who is now our Chief Strategy Officer, and he will oversee all of this himself, and he has jumped right in, and so we're certainly glad to have him on board, given his extensive managerial and operational experiences. As far as we look at enhancing academic excellence, aligning what we do with our academic enterprise and furthering our priorities and goals is absolutely critical. So we have looked at increasing our online certifications and programs, and obviously in the pandemic we've had to accelerate that process, and we've done that I think very well. Our academic prioritization is key. The board will receive a full report from the provost through the Academic Excellence Committee about this at our next board meeting in early November. Faculty workload and course offerings is something that we really needed to look at. Our general education requirements in particular. We want students to be able to matriculate, to be well-rounded, but we certainly don't want to put barriers in front of them to do that. And obviously increasing our faculty professional development has been a key aspect of what we are focused on as well. To give you an idea of who our students are today, our fall 2020 FDIC student profile is as follows. As of Monday, October 5th, we have brought in one of the largest classes in our history, well over 2,500 students. The top 5 majors, as you can see, are biology, political science, psychology, nursing, media, journalism, and film. The average high school GPA is now 3.6. ACT scores average 25, and SAT score average of 1197, and this compares with 1212 from the previous year. Our top 5 states continue to be New York, Maryland, Georgia, California, and now Texas as well. Top 5 countries: Nigeria, Jamaica, Nepal, Trinidad, and Bahamas. We have 17 countries represented, and when we look at the overall student body, we actually have students currently now from almost 50 countries. So we definitely have a very diverse population. As I mentioned, in terms of the number of students that are enrolled presently, that number is obviously very significant. We have almost 2,500 students as of about a month ago, and that number has actually climbed up some, such that our increase in the number of FDICs is above 25% currently. In terms of transfer students, that number is up 16% as well. The only area where the number is slightly down is in the professional student body, and that's primarily only in the College of Pharmacy. Every other school and college on our campus has seen an increase in the student body this year. I think what is important is that students have to be able to access a Howard education, and we have to ensure that it's affordable. I will walk through a couple of things that have influenced our U.S. News and World Report ranking as well. And so a couple of things here to mention. We have been very focused on trying to retain our students from the very early days. And so once they come in as freshmen, we want to see them progress to sophomores. And as you can see, that we've had a significant increase in our retention rate. That's absolutely critical, that they do very well in that first year so that we can continue to retain them. We've also moved our 4-year graduation rate. I can tell you, looking forward, and as we finalize the data on 2020, our 4-year graduation rate is as high as 58%. So that needle has moved almost 20 percentage points in the past 7 years or so, and that's a significant increase. What I would also bring your attention to is that green line at the bottom. We have created a circumstance where you can take up to 21 credits a semester, and as a result, there's a realistic opportunity to graduate from Howard University in 3 years. That, along with a couple other programs that we've put in place, have afforded students that opportunity. And you will see that when we first started this, the 3-year graduation rate was 1% or less, and that has now creeped up to between 3 to 4%. And we anticipate that it will continue to increase. We are going to set a goal of trying to get that to 10%. So 10% of the students who come into Howard, we're going to look for the opportunity for them to graduate in 3 years. That helps them to save at least 25% of their cost, and in some circumstances, even more. We saw it in the rankings to 80. I think this is a very significant acknowledgement of the things that we've been focused on. And we've been focused on student outcomes, has primarily been our focus. And the reason for that is to ensure that students who come here, we can retain them and help them matriculate on time, which is also key. The U.S. News and World Report has been making adjustments in where they apply the different categories in terms of the number of points you get. And as a result, that has fit nicely into our strategy. And what you will see is that that has resulted in a significant increase in where we are, as well as some of the blocking and tackling that must take place around things like peer evaluation and so on. As Howard takes on a greater national role and become well known, our peers are also giving us higher ratings as well when they fill those forms out. One of my reservations about the U.S. News and World Report is that the percentage of that score that relies on your peers' assessment of you, I think is too high. And once you're not part of that club, as it were, you can certainly pay the price. And so that's something we continue to watch. As I said, we want it to be accessible and affordable. So we've continued our tuition rebate program for students who graduate in 4 years or earlier. We return any direct payments made in their final semester, and that does not include loans. So any credit card payments, cash payments, or check payments they make towards tuition, we return 50% of that. That program has been very significant. It is now approaching costing us 7 figures to run. And while that may seem very significant, not having to assist students with financial aid in the 5th and 6th year is also critical, and therefore there's savings on that side. And so we will continue this. We think it's important for families to continue to look at that opportunity. We also have instituted a sibling discount as well, as our families continue to look for opportunities to send multiple children to Howard, and that's something that we certainly want to reward them. So there's a 10% sibling discount as well. We had an HU stage grant this past summer. Because of the pandemic, we had to suspend it. We will reevaluate as to whether or not we can reinstitute it next summer, but this allowed students to take an extra 6 credits in the summer at no cost of tuition. We've had a GRACE grant for several years now that pays the remaining tuition and selected mandatory fees for the highest need students on track for graduation. So these are students whose expected family contribution is 0, and we've continued to do that. The graduation rate for those students who've received that GRACE grant is extremely high for Pell Grant students. It's in the high 80s, approaching 90% in some of the classes. And that's something that we're going to continue to look at, because we believe that if we take away the financial need for those who are most in need, they actually will do very well. We've had a GOT 15 program as well that has proven to be successful, and that is encouraging students to take at least 15 credits a semester. We are increasingly admitting students and enrolling students who actually have advanced credit. And so some of them in their freshman semesters may not actually take 15 credits because of the advanced credit they have. But even when you pool all of those in, well over 90% of our freshmen are accumulating at least 30 credits in that first year. And that's also key for keeping them on track to graduation. Now, I want to talk about a few university successes. Howard University now sends more African Americans to medical school from our undergrad campus to medical schools all over this country than any other institution in the country. As a matter of fact, if you look at the total number of applicants and the number who actually are African American, you will see that Howard University sends more than 20 students more than number 2, which is Xavier. And even large institutions like University of Florida and University of Texas do not send as many as Howard does. And this is a very, very important point for us to look at, especially when we look at the pandemic, the disproportionate impact that the pandemic has had on our healthcare system. We certainly need more Black doctors, and that's something that we are committed to doing. We're continuing to focus on students' mission over their major. Our student athletes have been performing extremely well in the classroom and in the field of play as well. And I certainly want to take the opportunity to commend them on their activity and the efforts that they have been participating in. And as our recruitment recruiting improves, I think we'll continue to see more scholar athletes doing well here at Howard. Inspiring new knowledge is the other pillar. Doing more research and getting us to R1 status is absolutely critical. And you will see here, when you look at the proposals proposed since 2013, you can see that what we have been observing is a significant increase in the number of proposals that our faculty have been submitting. We have to create an environment where research is done at a very high level, but we also have to make sure that the administrative services for research are done in such a way that faculty members can participate in that with as little disruption as possible. And that is a significant goal for us. We're putting significant resources in it, and over the course of the next couple of years, we anticipate seeing continued improvements and continued efficiencies as a result. We have to have some innovative approaches to academia. The backbone of our academic environment, obviously, is our faculty, and the Office of Faculty Development has done a great job out of the Provost's office, run by Associate Provost Dark. The impact here in terms of making sure that faculty members can progress and get tenure, as well as advance from assistant to full professor, is critical. We have a grants workshop in the summer that we've been sending faculty to help them with their writing and their ability to secure grants, and I think all of those activities have been bearing significant fruit, and that's absolutely important. We've also been sending our students to compete at the highest level 4 national competitive scholarships. So whether it's the Rhodes Scholarship, Goldwater, Marshall, Pickering, Truman, Rangel, Fulbright, Schwartzman, to name a few, every year we have students that are competing for those particular scholarships and winning. Several of them have been finalists and have the opportunity to apply again in that following year. And so we're very proud of the students for participating in this activity and doing so well when they compete. It is very rare to see the number of Pell Grant students in that sphere, and so we're very happy to see that. Our workforce development strategies have been critical. We believe that we have a responsibility as a destination site for our HBCU colleagues to give them the opportunity to participate in a professional education, as an example. So several years ago, we started a pre-health scholars program where we bring students from other HBCUs, and those students, when they get here to Howard, what we do is we help them with their average MCAT prep, and their DAT prep. And what we have seen is that the average score has increased significantly in both the DAT and the MCAT prep. Those students are exposed to didactic information as well as clinical exposure, and they get practice tests every week along with feedback on test-taking skills. And so we're very, very proud of this program. It has increased the number of HBCUs that actually matriculate here at Howard in our professional schools. And you can see that this past year we had students from several HBCUs participate in the pre-health scholars program. Similarly, we have a pre-law scholars program where we bring students from a variety of undergrad campuses, HBCU undergrad campuses as well. The average LSAT score improvement there is about +3 points. And these students really get a sense of what going to law school is like, and a significant number of them actually continue on to law school somewhere in the country. 27% of the participants actually stay in our law school. So we really get a chance to look at some of the best and the brightest from our HBCUs and really try to encourage them to stay with us. And you can see the participating schools for the pre-law HBCU is a wide variety all over the country, and again, this is a program that we're very, very proud of. A couple years ago, we started a pre-PhD scholars program, specifically for those who are interested in a PhD in the social sciences and humanities, not STEM. We thought it was important to really encourage young African-American students to participate in a PhD in the social sciences and humanities. And again, we've attracted a nice variety of students. We are now in our second year, and the number of students who are actually matriculating and getting into these PhD programs is significant. And again, you can see in terms of the participation from the other HBCUs is very significant. Howard West Entertainment was finally launched this past spring. I had the opportunity before we shut down as a result of the pandemic last fall to get out there and see and interact with the students. And I apologize, I should say we started in the fall. I had to shut down in the spring as a result of the pandemic. Amazon Studios has proven to be a great partner in this, just as we did with Howard West, with Google. This program is allowing our students to interact and be taught by Amazon Studio professionals and Howard faculty. And again, I think it's a very rich program with great opportunities. They allow the students to do internships this summer, despite the fact that obviously the pandemic was taking place. They made the appropriate virtual arrangements in some circumstances. And we've launched our second cohort that have started, will be starting pretty soon again at Amazon Studios. So this again is a program we think is going to be very important to expose our students to the entertainment industry. And when we look at inspiring new knowledge, academic innovation is key. So how we teach, how we deliver that education, how we're able to participate in research and those other activities is going to be very critical as we move forward as a university. And so we've really stood up a significant number of online programs, and we're looking at areas that we can get into. Esports is obviously a significant aspect of what's growth when you look at growth phase in higher ed, and you look at the gaming in higher ed as well. Those are areas of significant growth and areas that we believe we can participate in. Serving our community is extremely important, and this is something that takes on a wide variety of activities. It also means a lot because community can mean our internal community, our employees, our retirees. Community also means a larger community around us in terms of the local and regional community. And it can also mean the larger African diaspora community as well. So there's several fronts on which we are looking to serve our community. And so fundraising is a major part of how we are going to engage and really support the university going forward. Last year, we raised just under $38 million. When I started, we were raising about 5 to 10 million. So this is certainly a significant increase for us. The total number of gifts we received was also increased. 12% of our undergrad participated. This is our highest rate in about 13 years, with 6,473 undergraduate alumni donors. This is extremely important year because I think it also represents a year of pivot for us. The important thing to note about this year as well, our fundraising target was about 18 million. And also we had record funds raised for student financial aid in particular, more than raised for all purposes in fiscal year 19 as an example. In calendar year 2020, we also have closed or had been in the process of closing on major gifts. 8 of the largest 9 gifts in Howard's history from individual donors in particular and foundations in some cases were received in this fiscal year. These are critical investments in Howard, but certainly have a minimal impact on the bottom line because what we're doing with some of these gifts, because they're restricted, is making sure that we can secure the future for the university. Some of the gifts that I do want to point out, the Mackenzie Scott gift, which was a $40 million gift. It was unrestricted. I have decided to put that into infrastructure programs such as helping with the steam plant, the campus technology upgrades that we do need, faculty development investment so that in the future, when we look at faculty retention and compensation improvement, we could put funds towards that. Social entrepreneurship, we want to start a social innovation hub on campus, and we needed seed dollars for that. And we also are putting it into, obviously, student financial aid as well. Bloomberg Philanthropies gave us a $32.8 million gift. This will help pay off the loans of medical students up to $100,000. Regardless of what year they are for the current existing students. And this is a significant gift because our medical students graduate with debt well over $200,000. We anticipate that those students who would receive this gift would now graduate with probably as much as 50% less debt than they would have without this gift. So this is very significant. It helps them go out and begin their careers without the worry about having to pay off significant loans. The Cash Family Foundation gave us a $10 million gift to endow our STEM Scholars Program, which is now known as the Cash STEM Scholars Program. That also includes Lomax KIPP Scholarship to the tune of $1.275 million as well. The Hopper Dean Foundation, this is a husband and wife foundation, gave us $4 million towards the Cash STEM Scholars as well. We've had a couple of other donations that are very significant. One of them is pending final documentation, so I have to keep the corporation in particular confidential, but that's a $3.9 million gift. Patricia Walters, the widow of our former professor, Ron Walters, endowed a chair, the Ronald Walters Chair in Race and Black Politics, to the tune of $2.5 million, and we remain very grateful to her for her generosity. Newmark Philanthropies, run by Craig Newmark, gave us $2.5 million. He is the person who invented Craigslist. very interested in journalism, and so 2 journalism endowments were set up, one for student aid and one for some experiential activities. And then Steph Curry also gave us a significant gift that helped launch our men's and women's golf program, and we've recruited some young men and women to start that program along with a coach, and they've already been at work. So it has been a very significant past 12 months in terms of fundraising, and there's a lot more for us to do. Now, giving starts at the top, and one of the things I do want to point out is that last fiscal year we had 100% board giving. The cabinet also participated in giving to 100% as well. And many of our trustees made major multi-year pledges as well. So for that, I'm thankful, and I do want to take the opportunity to thank the leadership of the university, the cabinet, and the board for their full-throated participation in the activity of the university as it pertains to philanthropy. So thank you very much. Now, a major part of our next pillar in terms of achieving financial sustainability is really underpinned by the philanthropy. And if we continue to look at that carefully, and we look at the fact that doubling our alumni participation rate would help that, it's critical that we get there. These are 2 important objectives that require 2 mutually supporting strategies. One being doubling the alumni participation rate, and the second one, increasing the philanthropic revenue with some large and significant gifts as well. And so already in the first quarter for fiscal year 21, we've surpassed $50 million in fundraising. This is something that we have to continue to push for us to be able to participate in some significant and meaningful capital campaign in the future. I do want to mention the Howard University Middle School of Mathematics and Science, which is on our campus, because as we think of the future, we must always be making sure that our pipeline with the middle school is well on its way. So it's 15-year charter renewal for the school that has been operating successfully since 2005. 96% of these students re-enrolled for the next school year, and so we're very, very proud of what they're doing at the middle school. And we do think that although they had to go to virtual, their participation has been significant. We've given these young men and women devices that they can take at home, and so they also, in this virtual environment, have been participating in their education virtually as well. The other thing that I do want to point out is we have to continue to expand our corporate partnerships. As we think of employment and as we think of changing the curriculum so that we are putting out graduates who are very prepared for the environment, we have to make sure that we're partnering well to do that. We also want to leave a positive impact on our world. Our motto is truth and service, and that service aspect of what we do is something that we have to continue to enhance. I've been very proud of the chapel and the chapel assistants. Their activity, even in a virtual environment, has to be lauded. Alternative spring break had to be taken down because of the pandemic, but the students still participated virtually in service activities, and for that we're very thankful. And they've continued to do that. This week of homecoming, we have a day of service, and the students again participated robustly in that activity, and that's something that we must continue to expand. We've stood up testing sites as a result of the pandemic in Ward 7 and 8, and I think our service to the community is something that we really have to continue to expand in terms of making sure our community stays healthy, not just physically, but also mentally as well. Improving efficiency and effectiveness is next. And our health sciences complex is undergoing a significant transition. We have a very strong plan to build a new hospital in partnership with Adventist Healthcare, and that's moving along well. And that's something that we anticipate will come about in the next few years. We are beginning to lay all of the groundwork for the funding for that, and I am very pleased. That will also result in a changing of the academic medical center, and this is what that programming will look like. Our plan is to build a new academic STEM center to replace some of our current STEM buildings, We'd like to replace our health sciences schools, and obviously the middle of that hub would be a new hospital as well. We do have some transformational projects that have been underway as we try to rejuvenate the campus, and several of them are listed here, and I'll walk you through a couple of them, because the other thing that we have to do is to really change the physical nature of our campus. This is the Axis. This is the building that used to be the Howard Inn that sits above the bookstore currently. This is run as an apartment building. As a matter of fact, the few students who are on campus during the pandemic are being housed here. This project has been done, very nice amenity spaces in this project. This is a picture of the lobby, and we've been very pleased with the outcome of this. This is a picture in one of the studio apartments as well. This is an amenity space in that building. The Tubman Quad, which was in dire need of renovations, that renovation is now complete. The glass areas that you see here on the facade are actually connectors. In the previous iteration of this building, you could not walk from one floor to the other without going outside of the building or going down to the basement, and now you can walk around on each floor as well. There are elevators in the connectors as well. This is a picture of the entrance to the building. The rooms in this building are fantastic, and the courtyard I think will be a great convening place for the young freshman women in this building. And you can see the rooms, the flooring, everything in here has been fully renovated, and so very, very happy that this project is now fully completed. The undergrad library, I think, will be a showcase site when we're able to return to campus. I first went into this library in 1988, and walking through the library now is absolutely fantastic. This renovation is a world-class renovation, brings this library into a contemporary nature and space. Douglas Hall, these are some mock-ups for what Douglas Hall will look like. We are making the plans on this renovation now. We hope to be able to deliver this in about 18 months. This will be an extensive renovation of the entire Douglas Hall with appropriate study spaces and class spaces as well. And so, again, a very significant project that will transform that part of the campus. We also plan on bringing about a new Center for Arts and Communications on the north end of campus, to the north of Childers, the current Childers and Ira Aldridge site. We anticipate, again, that we would have to do significant fundraising in order to bring this. The Student Union Fusion Building is something that is long overdue as well. We are renovating Blackburn presently, and we'll have that fully renovated by fall of 2021. But we do think we also need to decompress some of the activity that takes place in the gym into a separate building for our students. And as mentioned before, the health sciences and STEM complexes. We do have a longer-term plan to bring about some apartment-style residences for grad and professional students on our Sherman Avenue lot, and that obviously will occur in a future iteration of our campus renovations. The Herb 1 building, which is opposite the UNCF building down 7th Street, we have a proposed redevelopment program there. We also, as you know, own the CVS pharmacy that you can see on the north end of this site. And we are asking the developer to go back and to look at including that site into this redevelopment process. This represents a gateway into the campus, and we think we have an opportunity here to influence what that looks like and to provide more mixed retail for our campus as well. The Bun Bread project, which is the project that is obliquely across from the hospital at the corner of Georgia and V Streets. We have had a bidding process. We have now settled on a developer, and this building and the activity that will take place here will again be mixed retail This will have significant branding around Howard as well, and again, will be an important aspect of the gateway to campus and connect to campus very, very nicely. The Effingham development, which is opposite the School of Business, is an apartment building, and north of that you see the Howard Manor. We plan on a renovation project there that will again give us some access to more housing, but also we'd like to place some university offices in there, such as the development and alumni. This is next to Cook Hall, which is in this rendering in all white. 9th and V, which is a property, again, that we own. We have a proposed building there for primarily retail and housing. And that project is out for bid, and we'll make a final decision on what exactly that will look like once we get those bids in. The steam plant modernization is extremely important, and this project has been undertaken with significant vigor. The result would be a more energy efficient plant that will supply significant energy to the campus in its entirety. It will also reduce effective CO2 emissions. And so that sustainability activity is extremely important for the campus, and one that we've heavily invested in with this project. The steam plant and the pipes associated with it across the campus, as you know, have been aged, and it has failed us in the past. We currently are using backup boilers, and by the time this is finished, we really would be in a great place with respect to generating our own energy, as well as the ability to actually sell energy to the local places around us. And these are just some pictures of what the old and current steam plant looks like and what it will look like in the future. We've also launched a solar panel project. We have now installed solar panels on 7 buildings on the main campus and 2 on the law school and divinity campuses at the Van Ness site. In total, over 500 kilowatts will be installed by the end of 2020. And again, an important project. This is on top of the administration building where you can see the solar panels that have already been installed. This is the crane lift to install those panels at the School of Medicine recently. And this is on top of the administration building as well. That double rainbow over the campus looks fantastic. And we also have some on the School of Business as well planned for the future. You know, stormwater management project is also key. We will construct a green infrastructure within the Howard University Law School parking lot. We think that this will be an important project again as we embark on really adding to our environmental investment, as it were, so that we can reduce the negative impacts of erosion, pollutants, etc., and really enhance our local ecosystem. We think a clean environment is important, and so we have to certainly invest to make sure that we can bring those about as well. Building energy sub-metering is also important. Right now, we don't have a good sense of how efficient or inefficient our buildings are with respect to energy utilization, and this sub-metering is going to help us significantly so that when we do have buildings that may not be working as we'd like, we can make adjustments. As part of improving the efficiency and effectiveness, improving Howard's procurement processes so that they are way more efficient as we secure goods and services is critical. We have launched the implementation of a new enterprise resource system, and as we look at that, Workday is a system that we are installing. We will be able to go live as early as July, August of next year, and this is one that I'm extremely excited about. This is one that I think will help us with risk mitigation as well, and making sure that, again, we can collect data, we can do the business processes of the university in a much more efficient manner. So achieving financial stability is the last pillar, and a very critical pillar, because without margin, there will be no mission. And so when we look at who we are, we bring in a significant number of students who require and receive financial aid, almost 80% of our population. 46% of our students are Pell Grant recipients, and 86% are underrepresented minorities. So we really have to look very carefully. We had targeted increases in enrollment with a goal of achieving about 10,000 by 2024. As I have to point out to you today, we have 10,960 students enrolled. We think that some students may have stayed with us because they did not have the cost of housing and room and board, so we're not going to get too far ahead of ourselves in terms of that enrollment number. We'll see what next year brings. But right now, we've already hit that target, but it's something that we'll be reevaluating given the unusual circumstances. We've had significant savings from bond refinancing as well. We've fully funded the pension plan recently, and our university contributions to employees' 403B savings plans we've continued to maintain. And the other thing that we've seen as we have engaged with TIA more around financial education for our employees is our savings rate has gone up amongst our employees as well. So to walk you through a few of these, we are looking at improved credit rating, so we have to continue to strengthen the university's finances to get there. We've done about $350 million worth of debt refinancing, and that has resulted in millions of dollars of savings. Part of what I took to the board was the interest in having the pension plan fully funded. It was about 91% funded. This week, we moved $80 million from the endowment into the pension fund to fully fund it, and I think that this was necessary for us to do. I wanted to send a message and to make sure that our staff, our retirees, are very clear that we put them first and foremost, and while we felt we had the dollars to do so, we wanted to ensure that their future and what they have done for the university, while they know we appreciate it, we wanted to make sure that we made a significant investment to demonstrate this. The university continues to provide 6% unmatched contribution to staff and faculty retirement savings plans as well, and matches an additional 50% of employee contributions. So we really are trying to get our faculty and staff into retirement security so that they can retire on time and retire comfortably as well as they go into that next phase of their lives. And just to give you the fiscal year 20 year-end financial results, our revenue overall, as you look at the different pies, our federal appropriations still makes up a significant amount of our revenue, as does net tuition. We have to continue to expand the contribution bucket as well. Some of the real estate development deals that we've done in the past has been significant. We want to expand the grants and contracts as well. But we are very focused on contributions, and I can tell you the percentage that is playing now is significantly more than it used to in the past, but we need to really expand it even more significantly. And then in terms of what we spend on, and as you would imagine, being a university, we're spending on our academic environment significantly. And at least 60% of the budget goes to colleges and academic support units, as it should. Our facilities represents only 10% though, and when you think of having to renovate the campus as well as the deferred maintenance, that's an area that we have to expand, but we have to bring in more revenue in order to be able to support that. And so far, as we have come into this year, as I've said, we're trying our best to keep the workforce employed. We've left the workforce unharmed. No furloughs. We have not stopped contributions to our retirement programs because we felt that it was an investment we needed to make. We're going to look at this every quarter, and I'm happy to say that thus far we have been doing well enough to continue that trend. Some of the revenue increase that you see here against the budget is as a result of some of the large gifts that we've received. And of course, those do not necessarily go towards salaries and other expenses, so we have to look at these numbers with that in mind. But even if you take some of the large gifts out that we've received thus far, we still are doing well enough financially to continue along this track and to see if we can continue to maintain the workforce. We look at this every quarter and make a decision based on that. Now, one of the things that I think is important is that we also have to look at when we rise in the rankings, the schools around us in terms of who they are, what their enrollment is, what the graduation rates are, acceptance rate, and their tuition. And one of the things that we've already discovered is that we charge significantly less than our competitors. That does make us less competitive in the sense of the amount of revenue we bring in and the dollars we have to spend on student support, on buildings, et cetera, is different. And that's something that we have to look at closely. But we're going to continue to make sure that we can hold our own amongst our competitors. We have to continue to increase our graduation rate. As you can see, many of our competitors, even in the vicinity of where we are now, have significant investments that they can make, but they charge, as you can see in terms of tuition and fees, significantly more than we do. And that's something that we clearly are going to have to look at. Some charge as much as 20 to 25% more than we do. The federal appropriation continues to represent a significant part of what's coming into the university. And as I've said before, it has been erratic in terms of when we receive it, et cetera. So for instance, right now, the government is operating under a continuing resolution because a budget for the year wasn't passed in an election year. That's not unusual, but instead of receiving our federal appropriation in the first week of October, we haven't received it, and that's $50-something million as an example. So trying to get us to rely less on that over time is an important aspect of what we must do. And this just shows what has happened with the federal appropriation. We are now at the highest level we've ever been as a university, but you can see that we did take a dip there for a period of time, and we have just gotten back on a track of getting it increased. But this is not the most reliable source of funding in terms of timing. It's reliable over the course of a year, but in terms of when in that year we may receive it, it's not always reliable. One of the things that we are very, very interested in is making sure that we can provide our department chairs, deans, on the finances so that they can make decisions. We need budgets at the very smallest level that we can, and that's something that the CFO and his team have been working fastidiously to bring about so that we can help. And as I said, investing in retiree life, both in terms of dollars and as well in terms of housing. So when we look at the East Campus project, one of the things that we want to put there would be retiree housing for faculty and staff as well. We have to continue to leverage our endowment, and one of the ways to do that is to make sure that we expand it. We have to expand and invigorate the Department of Alumni Relations as well around getting our entire community involved in supporting the university. Looking at implementing a 10-year capital plan is going to be key so that by 2030, the campus can be rejuvenated physically and have the types of world-class spaces that we can provide our education in. We've been out communicating our story very aggressively, and I want to thank many members of the faculty for participating in this activity. And you'll see there have been many placements for our faculty in particular, and this is just to capture a few, but our faculty have been out and about telling the story and answering the question around their expertise as we've navigated through the pandemic and as well through the racial injustice and those other types of things that have been occurring over the course of this summer. And so as we look forward, we are going to have to participate in a capital campaign to really raise significant dollars to continue to fund this, this journey that we're on. Continued rebuilding of the campus infrastructure is going to be critical, and hopefully by 2030 we can see a total rejuvenation of our campus. Culture enhancement is key. There are lots of things that are positive about a Howard culture, and culture ultimately is what is tolerated behavior. And we have demonstrated throughout the course of this pandemic that there is great behavior at Howard that must continue to be tolerated and enhanced. And that's something that I think as a community we have to continue to push for. We have to respect one another. We have to demonstrate our care and concern for one another by making sure that we're all rowing in the same direction and that we're going to get there. We're not going to agree on every single thing, but those are things that we can discuss robustly. But then once we make a decision, we need to move forward together. So I thank you for your continued support of the university. I thank you for your continued support of our students and faculty. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.